Hello, friends, colleagues, students, C++ learners. This is part 5 of debugging mid-size C++ programs. I'm Dr. Satish Singhal, PhD from Rose State College, Computer Information Technology Department in Midwest City, Oklahoma. So please watch part 1 to 4 in that sequence before you watch that. So we have been debugging a program in C++, employee list program, where 5 lines were deleted randomly, and we have finished constructor find, add, toString, get instance, and bubble sort. They all work. I was in last video showing you the get instance from keyboard, and it worked, but I think there was one line that was wrong, which was this statement was reversed. If we add 0, done will become false. We'll continue, otherwise we'll stop. So let's just demo that completely this time, that it does work correctly, and we don't even to really do any compiling because it is working correctly from the last time. Okay, if you want to. And we'll see that get instance from the keyboard is working correctly. Okay, so I'm just gonna add some 887766, so 6441, and Albert, last name Einstein. Let's say hours worked 50, pay rate $20 an hour, and 0 to add 1 to stop. So do that, and after that we are printing. So Albert Einstein should be the last entry in the list, and as you can see it is. So that means everything is okay. All right. So that one works fine. So we can add to our list that this get instance works fine. From keyboard. So now we can just kind of go sort of randomly and add other functions, and since it does work fine, I'm going to comment that out and see in my list that what is still needs to be done. Okay, and as I said, these one-line functions, I just eyeball them and said to myself, hey, they're gonna be okay. Alright, I think now I'm going to touch the two explicit constructors all the way at the end, and actually I have to add to the list that destructor is done also. So destructor is done. Destructor. Okay, and to do copy, ctor, and assignment operator, etc., I'll have to do that a little bit later, because for them I have to write a special function. I'll come back for that. Actually, I can do this find, the string ssn. So I'm going to, I think I'm just going to go top to bottom now and just do them one at a time and test them. And this time I will just reduce the length of video. I'll write the test code first, and then I will come back and do the demo. So in this one, it takes a string social security number, and so if we have we just need two social security number, one existing, one not existing, and it returns an integer. It returns a -1 if this doesn't exist, does not exist, sorry. Otherwise it returns a legal index of the length of the array. Okay, so I just need to see if this is working. So I'm going to pause the video, write all the code, and come back, explain the code and demo that, just to reduce the recording time. Okay, I'm back. So we're testing find employee which takes a string SSN as an argument. You can read the code of function, you have it. The function returns a -1 if this SSN is not in the list. Otherwise it returns 0 or higher value, which is the value of the index in the array where employee is located. Okay, so we go to the main and show you the test code. So I declared two temporary SSNs here as a string. One is -1, and of course we know none of the employee has a -1 social security number, so that should not exist. Other is 1112, and if you see the code earlier, that's Jim Adams. We add 1112, so it should be there. Now this time it's just going to only show that whether it exists or not. Once we make sure that get employee add function works properly, we can display the detail for those who do exist. So here I call the find employee with temp SSN as an argument. This function will return a index. If that index is 0 or higher, then we can say the employee exists. Employee with this number exists, otherwise it does not. And we are hoping that -1 will not. So for -1 we'll get this output here, and for 1112 we'll get this output here. And actually I should have compiled even before I came here. I didn't, so let me just do that now. I want to minimize recording time as much as I can, so that even this process doesn't have to be done. And let's look at that. And you can notice here that it does say employee with SSN -1 does not exist in the list, and employee with SSN 1112 exists in the list. Okay, so looks like my find employee with SSN string is working correctly, but I also want to be able to do get employee at and print their detail. Like here, it exists in the list, so should be able to. So if our get employee add is working fine, we can actually just do that right now. As a matter of fact, I'll have to make slight changes to the code and recompile. So I'll pause the video just to reduce recording time and come back and do that. Okay, so in order to print employee detail, we need to make sure get employee at works, and I coded this back in. Eyeballing, I didn't see any problem. The function looks fine. That means deleted line was not from there. So now we can use it in the main to make sure that works as well as the find does. So here I had to alter the code just a little bit. Here I call the find employee with temp SSN, which is -1, and get the index 1. If index 1 is greater than or equal to 0, that means it's there. So earlier we had this print out, but since we know at which index the employee is, I can call the get employee at function, pass it the index. This will actually be an employee, and toString will print it out. I do the same thing for the temp SSN2, which is 1112, which earlier we found exists. So I call the find employee, which will return an index, and I take this index. If that index is greater than or equal to 0, that means it exists. I print that message, and then I use the get employee at, pass that index to string, print the employee's detail, otherwise the employee is not in the list. And I have already debugged and run it. So actually there was no bug in this one, so we'll just run it. And as we can see that employee with SSN -1 does not exist in the list. So for -1, this code was executed here. But for the 1112, which is Jim Adams, we are seeing that employee number social security 112 exists in the list, and below is the employee record, which is this part here. And this code line 53 gives me the details of the employee, Jim Adams, 39 hours, $12 per hour, 468. So looks like we can add to our list. The get employee at is working also, along with the find with SSN. Okay, two very important functions that we still need to do is delete and update. Those are crucial because if deletion is not done right, our list could be in trouble. If update is not done right, that could be a problem too. So let's go to delete now. Here's the delete employee code, and once again I'm going to remove the throw part here and comment in my delete part here, comment it in, and of course first you eyeballing is very important. It's not ineffective. You'll get very good at eyeballing the code and making sure it is correct after a while. And so employees passed, I get the social security number, and I think I've already made sure that actually that's from the employee class, which was already perfected, so that's not a problem. And then I just debug this find employee, which works fine. So if index returned by find is greater than 0 or equal to 0, that means it's true, I can delete it. And if list state is 1, that means it's disordered, it's not sorted. So I can just simply swap the element at the index with the last element in the list and reduce number of elements by 1 and return true. So list was already unsorted, that's fine. But if I want to preserve the order of element, if list is sorted, in that case I want to preserve order of elements, and deletion here will not change the order of elements. And this algorithm, shifting algorithm as I call it, actually works. Okay, and it looks, eyeballing it looks fine to me, it's not a problem. Okay, so let's check the delete employee. So I'm going to be back just in a second. Okay, so now we want to demo that delete employee is working. So we had this emp2 list is unsorted, which had the Marido in it. Okay, and ID number 1119. So I'm calling the delete employee using that, and then I'm printing the list. If list does not have 1119 ID number and the Marido, that means deletion is working, at least one part of deletion is working correctly. So let's do that. And you can see from the printed list, there was John Doe, then there was Mary Morgan. Now Mary Morgan was actually the last element, it got swapped where the Marido should have been. And there may be a second Marido here, but her ID number is not the same social security number, so the one that we wanted to delete did get deleted. Okay, our job is not done here because we need to check for the else block where we are keeping the order of the list intact. So that's checked as follows, that I sort the list based on the social security number. Once again I delete the emp2, which was Marido1119, and earlier code was commented out. Then I run to toString to make sure that list is still sorted after this deletion on the social security number. I run it, and I can see that John Doe is there, Jim Adams is there. Marido would have been here, actually here, 1119 sorted in the order of the social security number, but it's not there, got deleted, and all other social security numbers are in order. So that means the second part of the delete function, which is else block, is working as well. So we have debugged one or two more functions, and I'll come back in other videos to show you that others work as well. Thank you, see you later.